Most people are sleeping too much.
So how much should we be sleeping?
Honestly, we shouldn't really be sleeping at all.
Wow, okay, that's interesting.
Sleep should be treated like a treat.
Like Sour Patch Kids or cigarettes or something.
Exactly, like cigarettes. I'm glad you said that. It's a once in a while, maybe you're a social sleeper.
When's the last time you slept?
The last time I slept was about 8 months ago.
What happened?
I was stung by several swarms of bees simultaneously.
To me, there's nothing worse than when multiple swarms are organized and working together.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody could see me because I was covered by the swarms.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just sort of looked like, a mound with a bunch of bees
sort of
on
a writhing mound of bees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My body completely shut down, and I slept for about a week straight. Some people are going to call that a coma. It wasn't. I was sleeping.
TBTL.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
It's Friday. Gonna get down on Friday.
Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
I hear the words you're saying, and I believe you believe it's important.
Can you say hot dog?
A dog.
Thank you, baby. Hot dog. Hot dog.
A dog.
I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was.
Oh my God. This is a whole new level of nerd.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Friday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Yeah, everyone's got a podcast.
My name is Luke Burbank. I'm your host.
First things first, I love my job.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio.
Bring it back home, baby. Bring it back home.
Perched high above the mighty Columbia. Oh, it feels great to be back home again. Although, I think I got back at about 1:30 or 2 last night. And then I woke up this morning and was out mowing the lawn at like 7 a.m. because I've got this siblings get together. All of my 6 siblings are all coming over this weekend. Just the siblings, the Burbank kids. And we're having a weekend of fun and bonding together.
I'm an activist and house party enthusiast.
And I'm trying to get everything spick and span. And I realized at some point this morning that's not going to happen. And that's okay, my friends. That is okay. It's also more than okay that we've arrived at episode 4,508 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
Getting home last night, the flight was delayed a bit out of Dallas, I think. Yeah, the Dallas flight was delayed. That wasn't great. But the real planes, trains, and automobilization of my life was on Wednesday afternoon trying to get from New York City to Manhattan, Kansas.
Oh, and the adventure begins again.
I was on a conference call with the business boys in the back of the Uber, and I was telling them for some reason, the thing felt like an action movie to me. I mean, the most boring action movie you've ever seen, but it felt like something cinematic. I was trapped in Times Square in a car trying to furiously change airports to figure out if there was a way for me to get to where I needed to go. Anyway, we'll probably talk about that. And because we've been promoting this story all week, excuse me, that's what happens, my friends, when you decide to horf down some Nally's spicy pickles right before the show, during the audio intro to the show. That was such a foolish idea of me. I just got hungry all of a sudden. Because we've been promoting this story all week, and we want to get it cleared off of the docket here on this Friday, we'll talk about the dumpster disagreement that could take down one of Seattle's finest establishments, the Little Red Hen.
I mean, trash is trash.
Oh, and also, we have a special Friday edition of the Blur's Day messages.
My birthday today.
We ran out of time on the Thursday show, and instead of giving short shrift to the folks who have been born this week, including my sister Liz, we are going to give long shrift to them, and we're doing the Blur's Days, normally a Thursday activity, here on a Friday. And we're going to do that all with the help of this guy. Speaking of party animals.
I like to party. Do you like to party?
He's the longest-running co-bro of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. He's Andrew Walsh, and he is joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. It's funny that, well, it's not funny that you choked during the intro. Obviously, we were all concerned for you. I don't want to make light of that.
I didn't see that coming.
I did. I saw you eating. I mean, I didn't see the hiccup coming, I guess, but I did see you just pounding those pickles right before you opened your microphone, and I was like, huh.
I want to be clear. They're mini. They're like Cornichon size.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I need to clarify
pickle.
that.
I was wondering why that was a needed clarification. I wanted to ask you, though, I was going to start by kind of
First of all,
apologizing.
I don't appreciate you ever using the term, Luke, you were pounding your pickle.
You were pounding pickles. Did you? This is such an inappropriate way to start the show, but did you? Well, I guess what I'm asking is, did you laugh at my joke yesterday? Because I was going to say, did you see my blue sky joke? But then it occurred to me, I think I shared it with you guys on the text chain as well, regarding a possible pitcher batter situation that could have been coming up. I think you were having some comms
I was
issues.
having technical times because I was in and out of airplane mode.
I told myself, like, I wanted to ask you before the show. I just wanted to check in emotionally about how you're feeling. Yesterday was one of the worst losses in Mariners' recent history, I would say, in the last few years. Like, no joke. Like, just an absolutely terrible, like, very, 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 very painful loss for reasons we don't have to get into now because we're not. And I always say, I look at myself in the mirror every morning. I say, this is not a sports podcast. But it's
a podcast where we pound pickles.
This is a pickle pounding podcast. A pickle pounding podcast, not a sports podcast. That's what I say every day in the mirror. But there was some exciting stuff going on early on in the game that we were all keeping an eye on. But then there was something else that I was keeping an eye on because at one point, the opposing team, the New York Yankees, put in a relief pitcher whose name was Beater. Beter. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. I didn't have the audio on. But we also have a batter named Mastroboni. And I was so looking forward to a potential Beater Mastroboni matchup, and we did not get it. We got within 3 hitters, and then they swapped Beater out.
They put in Chet Onanism, right? Because he's a high leverage pitcher.
I don't know that word, but from context, I think I just learned a new word.
I think it's a highfalutin way to talk about self-love.
About masturbonis.
About masturboni, I believe.
Onanism.
What is it again?
It is
onanism.
Onanism. I don't know if I've heard that.
Onanism, high leverage pitcher, be a show.
Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't know if that's.
Enough.
But yeah, so that was yesterday. But
anyway, sorry about that. I'm sorry for my lack of professionalism. I'm more hungry than I would normally be this time in the morning because I've been up for a long time already out tilling the fields here at the Madrona Hill studio.
Well, speaking of agriculture, that's what I was going to say. I don't know if this is super interesting, but it was kind of a big moment for me this morning too. When we dialed up and we're doing the sound check, I think you did notice that I was eating something. I was eating it kind of rudely and not muting my microphone.
Well, I wasn't watching you. I heard something. Yeah. I heard something being chomped upon, but because I've usually got my audio situation up, I don't have any idea what you do in that room, my friend, but
onanism
comes to mind. Anyway, keep going.
But I don't know if you could tell from the sound of what I was eating, but I was eating an apple. And in the same way your pickles were mini, this apple was a very small little apple. It was only about 3 or 4 bites. And do you know why it was such a small apple, Luke? You don't. I'll just tell you. Because it was
in your yard?
No, but my neighbors did, like down the street, like a block from here. I was walking to the grocery store yesterday. On the way home, I noticed that the apple trees are already appling. I thought it was a little bit early in the year for that, but there's this one. So I'm obsessed with eating apples that are just like kind of freely available from the trees on my walk to various places around the neighborhood. I like to know where those trees are. And so on my walk to the train station,
where's the tree that grows twisted teas? I'm sorry, that's a shrub.
It's across from where Cindy's Diner used to be. But speaking of shrubs, like there is like an apple tree that I pass on the corner of whatever, one specific corner. And then as I continue towards the train, there's more of a bush. I don't know, can you have an apple bush? It's like a weird tree that's like kind of low to the ground and bent over. And they never pick their apples, so I can always count on having an apple on the way to the train there. But then there's another one in the neighborhood that I've never been able to get an apple off of because they must get one of those shakers or something, or the second this thing starts producing apples, they're gone the next day, I've noticed. I've seen this for like 2 years now. I'm like, these people must be very serious about their apple tree, because the moment they start growing, they're all picked already. And I don't think that's just from neighborhood stuff, because I think that they're whatever. I've never seen it happen. But yesterday I'm passing that tree and I'm like, whoa, is it apple time already? And nobody had picked any of the apples. So I grabbed 2 of the little guys and I chomped on them. Probably could have grown a little bit more, but I figured I got to get my chances while I can.
Well, here's my question. If these folks are clearly treasuring their apples,
yeah, I heard
so
it
much
too.
that they're picking them the second that they, even maybe before they come to full maturation, do you have any hesitation about then harvesting one of their apples, as opposed to somebody who just like lets them totally mature and then drop on the ground and then whatever? Like, those are people that you would probably grab an apple off their tree and they would. Is there any chance people might be annoyed that you're eating their apples?
Interesting. Literally had that thought about 45 seconds ago as I was telling the story, and I'm like, oh wait, they cherish their apples, and I'm talking about how I got to them before they could pick their own apples. But I will say, I mean, of all of the things to feel kind of guilty about.
Yeah, that's why I hesitate to say that, because you need to be, I think, nicer to yourself generally. So I don't want to be introducing new reasons for you to be critical of yourself.
Well, it's just like it's not like by the way, I do think there are some protocols involved. Like, I would never, I mean, obviously I'd never walk onto somebody's property to take their fruit.
Sure.
I wouldn't even I wouldn't even like do something where it's kind of like, oh, I got to reach over this fence
Right,
but I can
into
grab
their
your
yard.
I would never do that. I'm talking about apples that were literally hanging over my head on the sidewalk, and so I grabbed it. I'm wondering now, will some people say to me, now I'm just going to shadow box. This is it. The rest of the show, you've put me.
I did this. I'm
you
sorry.
You push the Catholic guilt button, but somebody might say, oh, you're so precious about nobody putting dog poop in your bins after they've been emptied, but you can go around taking your neighbor's apples, and I'm trying to see if that's a fair comparison.
I don't think it's fair, because, I mean, and this is a little bit squishy morally, but in my mind, first of all, I think it's very unlikely that there is somebody who has an apple tree in their yard or on their property, particularly out near the road, where like every single apple that comes off of that tree is being harvested and utilized and canned and preserved and made into pies and
applesauce,
whatever. It just seems like it seems like it's a natural resource and a bounty that within reason should be shared with everybody. That is just my feeling about it. Whereas if someone throws a gross thing into your garbage can, they've just made your day and week worse because of their own laziness. I'm not making an airtight moral or philosophical argument here. My feeling on it is just, if I had an apple tree and had a bunch of apples, and one of my neighbors wanted to grab one, it would make me so happy.
Yeah, me too. That's kind
it would just be like the bounty of the land is being enjoyed by we who live here. That's one kind of experience. And if I went into my garbage can and there was someone else's dog poop in there, I'd be like, oh, that's gross. Those are just so different in my mind.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me. This is what I wanted to tell you about today. This email came in a couple of days ago and I forgot about it. But it relates to a possible activity today. You know how I found myself on this neighborhood email list where it's an email list that isn't completely unlike Nextdoor, only it's not an app. It's just an email list that I find myself on. Sometimes I'm irritated by neighbors who are like being a little bit too paranoid about poor people in the neighborhood, or against like, oh, they're selling David's old house and I'm worried they're going to put condos there. Like, that's not exactly how I roll. And so some of those
There's
annoy me.
a guy in the neighborhood drinking twisted tea out of a paper bag.
Oh, are you on this? Did you see that too? Yeah.
That was my post.
It was. So he said, "Can't we get him a paper bag? We can see that it's twisted tea." Can we get? I saw somebody drinking a twisted tea in the open. Can we get him a paper bag to put over his head? But anyway, so there is that aspect of this neighborhood email chain, but it's also kind of sweet. Sometimes people are just kind of like, "Hey, I got extra brownies if you want to come over," or "Hey, I had extra tomato plants." That's what made me think of this. I think Genevieve got some tomato plants from a neighbor, or some starters or something from a neighbor because of this. So anyway, there's a sweet side to it too. Well, I got this email from somebody, and I won't say the name, but I don't know most of these folks, or if I met them, I can't connect them to their emails and their faces and their names or whatever. But somebody who lives one street over from me says, send an email with the subject line, "My foster puppy needs to meet people." And then I clicked on it. It says, "Hello, everyone. I have an adorable foster puppy from the Washington German Shepherd Rescue." I feel like we need. Oh, just I guess it's from Washington German Shepherd Rescue. I have had her for a couple of weeks now and have been terribly remiss in getting her out to meet more people. Would anyone like to come over this evening or Friday evening to pet the puppy? I can provide water, LaCroix, and some dog treats and a chair. This will all happen in the front yard if you want to swing by. So I think I might go pet a dog just for the sake of. I mean, I'm not usually somebody who's engaging.
You can, in fact, pet that dog.
I can pet that dog, and I might do it. Like honestly, I'm not. I usually pass over any kind of. I kind of don't want to get to know the neighbors too well, sort of. I don't know. I mean, actually, we're pretty friendly with several of our neighbors, and our next door neighbors we love, and always invite them over if we're having a gathering or whatever.
Multiple things can be true, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. You can both totally like your neighbors and have a good relationship with them, and also mostly not want to do things with them.
Yeah,
those are not mutually exclusive at all.
Especially if something that seems like it's going to be like kind of a more like kind of a proper little kind of like, hey, the neighborhood little get together. There's something about the vibe of this that is different than us saying to our neighbors over the fence, like, hey, we're having a fire tonight, just come on over. And I don't know this person, so I'll have to walk over there and introduce myself to people I don't know and puppies that I don't know. But it does seem like I'm like, listen, if a little cute puppy that they're just trying to socialize can't get me to socialize with my neighbors, then literally nothing can, right? Like this. I'm
almost worried this is a scam. Did they ask for your social security number for a background check? And also your mother's maiden name?
Mother's maiden name for sure, yes. They did
this
ask
does
that.
almost this feels almost too good to be true. Like puppy petting party.
Yeah, they're like free twisted tea. All the puppies you can pet.
Yes.
And step right here, right where this rope is tied to the tree.
And also, we've somehow rigged it so that the Mariners relievers actually hold a 5-run lead in the 8th inning. This is all here for you, Andrew, if you would like to come visit.
You know what we don't have in our yard? A TV that will be showing the Mariners facing Derek Skubal tonight.
Oh, God, is that tonight?
I think that's tonight.
Because, we're having this family get-together, which I'm very excited about. And I was very saddened by the Mariners game yesterday. Again, we don't have to get into it.
Derek, not Derek. Sorry, I knew I was saying something wrong there. Go ahead.
But the weird, I wouldn't say silver lining, but the thought I had was, well, I guess that lowers the chances that David and I and Sammy will become totally locked in on a game this weekend. Had we won that game and then we're going and we're playing well against Tarek Skubal as a Tiger.
Yeah, Detroit.
Detroit Tiger?
Yeah, Detroit. Yeah.
This will probably be a more fun, more in sort of integrated weekend if me and my brothers, who are all baseball obsessed, are obsessing a little less on the baseball than normal.
Yeah.
So I'm going to thank the New York Yankees for that, Andrew, because I'm trying to, in these difficult times, find a way to maintain some semblance of equilibrium. And the way I'm going to do that is by saying thank you, New York Yankees, for helping me not have any interest in watching Mariners games this weekend. And therefore, I will be just spending time communing and hanging out with my beloved siblings here at the Madrona Hill studio.
Thank you for being the Tux medicated pad to my match with a flame on the end of it, as far as my passion for the Mariners.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for extinguishing whatever little bit of burning passion was left.
Yes.
And now I'll just be sitting comfortably on this chair without any discomfort at all. Thank you very much, Tux.
You'll just be sitting there watching an old tube TV with nothing on it, just static.
I feel like that's a scene in a horror movie, right?
Yeah.
It's like you just go into a room and somebody is watching something with great intent, and then you realize they're not watching anything, and that's when you realize something's very off.
I don't know what I'm doing today. I feel like you made it very clear at the beginning of the show that you have a lot of stuff you want to talk about your travels, which are interesting. And I'm not doing it on purpose, but as I hear myself talk, I feel like I keep on getting us off topic on very, very stupid things. But this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'm not going to talk the rest of the show until the Blurs days. But do you miss static? At some point, our TVs just started giving us blue screens instead of static. No. And there was something always I would sometimes put static on in my dorm room just to kind of give it an atmosphere.
The reason I don't miss static is because I have a version of static in my life constantly, which is the white noise fan app on my phone. I know it's not technically static, but I think it kind of does the same thing.
That's
it's
audio, though, right? I'm talking about like the black and white.
You were talking visual
I'm
static.
talking about like our TVs
Yeah,
stopped
Channel
showing
3.
us maybe static is
Yeah.
the wrong word, but like that was a very
Whatever
classic
that
thing
is.
in the 80s, like the snow on the TV or whatever, when you get to a channel and nothing is there. But then something started happening in the 90s where if you like disconnected your cable, instead of the TV showing that static, it just would show a blue screen. I think they were trying to help us. Like, you don't want to see this static.
They probably thought people didn't like static.
Now you can't create static anymore. The TVs override
I can,
static.
and I do. Oftentimes, and in
That's
many
true.
relationships.
Yeah. So
No,
anyway.
you're right, though. You're right, though. I mean, that is a very, very kind of sense memory kind of component of being a person our age from your childhood.
Yeah.
It was a very common occurrence to somehow be dealing with static. You're trying to hook up the rabbit ears.
Yeah.
You're putting it on the channel, which is the channel that you play the VCR on, but you haven't turned the VCR on yet or whatever. There's like all these little kind of interstitial moments of static in your life while trying to watch TV because you were like somehow between things happening.
Yeah, I don't even know if you could do Zoo TV today, honestly, because I feel like Zoo TV probably implemented static on that huge tower of televisions that Bono and the boys had.
Oh, that's what you were talking about. I was like, I wonder if that was a regional Cleveland television program.
No.
I totally forgot.
What, you can't keep up?
Just the fact that you... Here's what I think. I think for a person who you've sort of described yourself as being... at some point in your life, a kind of a counterculture sort of person, or at least, you had periods where that really spoke to you. The ease with which you refer to U2, who I think of as being, what's the opposite of counterculture? Culture.
Well, we have a listener who's deep into U2, and so I cringe when I think of her like listening to me talk about U2 because I was not that much into U2. Like I even had a few records, and I just couldn't like them. And I don't even mean this as I don't mean this as an insult or that I think that they're not likable. Obviously, they are. I mean, they are absolutely cherished. But I just, maybe because I had always heard of U2 as being, maybe the expectations were always too high for me, that by the time I heard them, I was like, yeah, this is okay. Like, I like that Octung Baby album, which I bet you like maybe a lot of real U2 heads, I don't know how they consider that album, but I remember getting Joshua Tree and being a little bit bored by it. Rattle and Hum, I kind of like the weirdness of it, kind of some of it being live, some of it not being live and kind of weird. I like the
famous Wisconsin-oriented music CD.
Yes, and I like that because I like the blues, and I like it when Edge plays the blues, so I like that.
Sure,
but like honestly, I just think U2, I think I have a weird like cultural fascination with them, but it's not very well informed. I don't even know if I'm right in saying Zoo TV, or I don't know where Octung Baby ends and Zoo TV begins.
Well, no, few do. Even including Larry Mullen Jr. Anytime U2 comes up, I never miss a chance to wedge in the fact that he's Larry Mullen Jr. But no, I think you're right. I think that was a tour they did, and I have a feeling that involved a giant TV that was being on static because that was
a whole
stack of static
tower
TVs.
of them. Yeah.
Because that was the other thing. I mean, that was also a signifier, obviously, for U2 or whoever designed the sets for that tour of kind of like. What do you think? What does a tower of static TV say? It basically says like, this world that we live in is just an illusion, man. Right? I mean, that's what that says.
I don't want to misdescribe what it was. I think they had a whole wall of screens that were playing all kinds of, it was that very 90s
Different
things where it's just like flashing this, flashing that, and it was probably changing all the time. And my guess is you're going to get some snow in there or whatever we call it, that static look. I'm just guessing that's part of the bridge. I was helping my buddy with an audio project the other day. He's an artist and he's kind of doing this audio and visual studio show this weekend, and he was working on the audio component of it, and he kind of had this loop. I don't know how to describe the sound, but it was multi-layered kind of ambient sounds and stuff, and he kind of would loop it, and he said every now and then I put a beep in there where it sort of loops just a very subtle little beep, and I heard that in the track, and I was like, I kind of like that. There's something that is like old school about that. Like you need little bridges like that, like a little beep, like kind of resets your brain, like a voicemail beep that I'll sometimes like artificially insert between voicemails if I'm playing them on the show or whatever. It's like static does the same thing. It's like this little, it should just be a little glitch, but actually I feel like we kind of need them from a production standpoint.
palate cleanser.
Some
palate
sort of
cleanser.
signifier. So I didn't realize this. So there was no album called Zoo TV. Zoo TV was,
that was
the tour for Octung Baby and Zooropa. So there was a Zooropa album, but no Zoo TV.
I believe I saw the Zooropa tour live. I've told this story before at the Kingdome. It was a Friday. I was wrapping up my shift at Metro Traffic Control, and I got a call from the Mummy. No, that's not true. I was wrapping up my shift at Metro Traffic Control on a Friday, and a person I worked with there said to me, "Hey, I've got these 2 free tickets to U2 that I don't want to use. Do you want them?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me see if I can find someone." And I called on the landline. I called the Mummy. I said, "Hey, do you want to go see U2 at the Kingdome?" And he said, "Sure." And so I got those tickets, and then we went down and we saw, I believe that was the Octung or the Zooropa tour. It was. I remember there was a giant. There was some kind of a giant egg on stage, but digital and with lots of things going on. I do think they also had stacks of TVs around and stuff like that.
I don't think I knew this. You said that you always say that. If you said that, because I'm always using that as like a weird cultural reference. Zoo TV. I didn't know that you are a Zoo TV.
No, I got eyes on it.
Yeah,
I felt a hole in Bono's side.
Doubting Lucas. Yes,
That's
classic.
right. That's right. Yeah. No, I remember having a fun time. I would say that I'm sort of neutral on U2. It's not.
Yeah, me too.
It's not the number one music I would line up for, but I will tell you there are certainly some times where if I'm on a road trip and certain U2 songs come on, I am not changing that station. I'm on the record as a huge fan of the song "Angel of Harlem." Although you were talking about who's the guy who wrote Atonement?
Oh, Ian McEwan.
You were talking about that Ian McEwan book that you've been reading and how it's a little cringe for you that like his son the character's son is a blues guy because it kind of feels like maybe Ian McEwan's just kind of like a closeted blues guy or whatever. And I will say that like Angel of Harlem does kind of feel like Bono is a closeted Harlem guy.
I
like
see.
There's something kind of, it's very, I mean, the song is very soulful. Like it has a great horn section. It's a really catchy number that it feels kind of like written by a white Irish guy to sort of, I don't want to say appropriate, but definitely reflect a certain kind of musical style that had preceded him.
This is a strong word, but almost fetishize the Harlem
like just the tiniest bit. Now I'll give that's now what I think is interesting is that it's not a go-to as I understand it. I love that now we're just.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean I'm a willing participant in this. I mean honestly, this is felony murder of the listener's attention span. Meaning, I drove the car. You got out and went in and did whatever you did, but the fact that I'm driving the car makes me equally culpable.
It is true, but it was
so
my
it's just on me.
idea. I was like, I need to steal some static.
And I was like, okay. And you're like, but give me a ride. And then like, you just come out and you just got like all this static. You're carrying it. All that is to say, it's interesting to me because I really legitimately love that song "Angel of Harlem" off of the Rattle and Hum album. But I don't think that particular style is a huge go-to for Bono or for the band, which I kind of actually give them credit on. In other words, it's like they stepped out and they did this one song that's pretty kind of a style. But then they've got a lot of other songs. I will give them credit that as their career has gone on, like they got this other song, "Stuck in a Moment," which is like, you've got to get yourself together. You got stuck in a moment and you can't get out, or whatever the song is. That sounds very different than a lot of the other songs. It's really catchy. Also, the video is wild. The video is an NFL place kicker who keeps missing his kicks. What? That's I have, from my lips to God's ears, the YouTube video for "Stuck in a Moment," I believe involves the band U2 sitting in the stands of a football game. I know there's a place kicker who's having a hard time kicking the field goal in a YouTube video.
This song, I'm just looking at it now. It's
and I might not even have the name right.
You do. It's just a little bit longer. It's "Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out Of" is apparently the full. And so, so it is like kind of a narrative video. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. The band is laying in the street. A van is coming. There's a lot of traffic. It's at night. There's a lot of street stuff. I'm not getting any football.
I would skip ahead.
Okay, we're now more than halfway through. It's just the band kind of laying in the street. Now it's daytime. People are walking over them in the street. Here's the deal, though. Do you remember U2 would release... Wasn't it U2 that released like 2 or 3 different videos for the song One? And I will say One was a song that really got me. But they had like 2 different iconic videos for the song One. So maybe there's a couple of different videos, but this one does not have any place
yeah,
kickers.
because Stuck in a Moment you can't get the North American version, Andrew.
Oh.
The North American version. Here's the description. The concept of the video is an American football game with a rookie player who, if he makes the final kick, will win the game.
So U2 did this a lot, or at least more than once, creating different videos for the same song. That's kind of a brilliant thing.
It just seemed so. I remember when I saw it, I thought, like, I'm shocked to hear that The Edge is aware there's something called American football. It just seems so un-U2 to me. Like, it's almost, and it's quirky. I remember I remember a scene of like the kicker is just like stressing and he's sweating. And it's like the whole thing is so kind of like un-U2. It's not, Bono talking, singing about where the streets have no name, or like standing in a kind of, everything about U2 was so epic. Are you watching this video?
I just hit start on it, and it's like fake, like NFL, like
yes, 2
helmets coming at each other and crashing, and then I see that the teams that are playing, Luke, and I'm laughing because this ties into
Miami Sharks.
Was this? I can't remember what day on the show we were talking. You said nobody should make because I really have been thinking about this. You said nobody should make a sports movie if you can't
get
use
the
the real
to
names.
the real teams.
Because I was racking my brain. I thought for sure there would be like a classic baseball movie that takes place in a fake MLB, but I guess not. But anyway, this is the Flies versus the Lemons. Both of these teams that are facing each other are 12-1, and this is the world championship between the Flies and the Lemons. Oh my God! It's got I've got to play this. It's got John Madden introducing it. Sorry, dude.
Here's a guy. By John Madden impression.
And we're back at the unforgettable Fire Dome on this Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Lemons coach Dave Evans has definitely made some edgy plays, but there are only 3 words from Flies coach Paul McGinnis. Defense, defense, defense. The Lemons are ahead 41-39. It's 4th down. There's 3 seconds left to go in the game. The rookie, number 1, Paul Houston, ready to kick the biggest kick of his life. The kick is no good. The Lemons win. Hey, that was a short kick. Houston
Here's
missed
Bono
it.
to comfort
I would
him.
hate to be Houston. I would really hate to be Houston right now.
Oh, wow. Okay, now we're seeing the music kicks in. I got to be careful here. We don't want to get pulled down. Now, yeah, I guess.
Listen,
is U2 in the crowd?
We should be able to play as much
U2's
U2 as we want, considering they jammed it onto our iPods.
Yeah, that's right. We can't not play U2.
Exactly.
Wow, you do remember this, and that is a shocking intro to a U2 song. For
Isn't
what
it just
it's probably
like
going to be a
so-
contemplative U2
It seems
song.
like something the Monkees would do. I mean, that's what struck me. I remember back in the day about the video was like, and I kind of liked it, but I was like, this is so out of the bounds of how I sort of think about these guys as being. And in fact, that's part of the thing about U2 that maybe if sometimes the music doesn't totally work for me, it's because there is this sort of self-seriousness there that can be a little much.
Yes,
this
of
is
course.
very much the opposite. I didn't realize that they had John Madden.
Yeah, this is. And yeah, now he keeps on I guess they keep on. Like going back in time, and he keeps retrying the kick. So you definitely remember that. I have never seen this before, and it just seems like 2 very different tastes together here. So I got to ask, and then I'll put it in your court, and I'm sorry, you're on the spot here, but who did it better, Oliver Stone or Bono?
Bono, 100%.
As far as the recreation of a NFL situation?
Because if I remember right, the YouTube video is still sort of played slightly for camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they're calling it the Unforgettable Fire Dome, which of course is the name of a U2 record, I believe. The Unforgettable Fire.
Oh,
or is that just a song?
Look at that! I didn't know that.
So like, they're being very kind of like, being very unprecious, I think, with their kind of music and their legacy. And they're being, I think they're kind of, if I remember right, they're just being kind of funny and silly in the video by U2 standards.
Yeah.
And I love that. I will take that 100% over Oliver Stone and his crew trying to create this like sort of hyper intense football world where they're like, and they're playing the Omaha Quakers.
Yeah, right.
It's like, you just ruined it right then. You just had Al Pacino, who we've already established, and I think for the record and officially and unassailably, is far too urban coded to care about football or know about football. Like, Yeah, so no, I'll take this YouTube video any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Any given twice on Sunday.
Any given twice.
Over what Oliver Stone did. How about you?
I think that you make a really good argument. I would say the same thing, although I just hadn't really thought about Any Given Sunday until I played that bit of tape the other day as a joke. And then the next day you and I accidentally break the whole thing down, or you do really, and the reasons why you felt like his coach talk doesn't work. And I think I was thinking about it more later, and I think I've come up maybe I was editing the show, and so I re-listened to that, and I was beeping out the offensive words, and so I listened to it a few more times than you. I think another tell is the reason that is so clearly a monologue that was written to sound like a coach and honestly wasn't a coach, or actually wasn't a coach. He never repeats a word. In other words, every football term he brings up is brand new and used again. And it's like somebody sat down. It's like when I'm trying to come up with a show title or something, and you're kind of like, you sit down with a list of words, or you know what I mean? You start
it's like a play thesaurus.
Yeah, like somebody sat down, some writer sat down and was like, okay, a bunch of football terms. How can I work these in here? And like the way we talk, we repeat ourselves. We say the same thing, but like never once in that monologue.
Especially if you're a football coach.
Yeah.
Probably the elite level of repetition would be NFL football coach.
Yes. And there's just, it lacked it never occurred to me how cringy that was, but then it kind of got in my head a little bit. I'm like, yeah, like nobody talks like this where every single idea being introduced is like kind of like a brand new concept, sort of.
Meanwhile, I actually love that we played that whole thing at the end of the show, and I am like cracked up by this whole thing. I mean, because like that movie was kind of a blind spot for me. You know what I mean? Like, I also think that's a movie, and I guess you could say trigger warning. I believe in that movie, a guy scores a touchdown and then pulls out a gun and shoots himself in the head on the field.
Oh, God, I don't know.
Is a plot point in that movie.
I don't even think I've seen. I mean, I think I've seen the movie once, and the only thing I remembered was a line that I egregiously got wrong on the show that I was trying to play at the end. I thought Al Pacino yells, "This is our house, not in our house." I've been yelling that at Genevieve across the house for years. When
what
I wanted
does he
her
actually
attention.
say?
I'm not going to play it again, but it's just
not
like
that.
It's at the very end of that 2-minute monologue that we played at the end of the show, and then he does say something like, "Not here, not in our house."
He says he was TiVoing house. He was going to watch that when he got home. Exactly. We got to wrap this up. I'm TiVoing house.
That's what it was. No, I mean, he center the house. I do think that he says something about our house, but it's just like I thought he repeated it a lot. I thought he kind of kept saying it, and then he didn't. It's like
it would have been a better scene. Yeah. Honestly, that would have made more sense because that is a thing, and it's not too late. Any Given Monday.
Yes.
It's the follow-up that you and I write, produce, film, and star in.
Mm-hmm. We have to know it has to be Any Given Wednesday. It has to be the one day of the week or Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess, are the one
that doesn't have
the
football.
days of the week that don't have football. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I now am like, I've gone from having like no thoughts on that movie to like kind of like delighting in how obviously unbelievably bad it is.
Yeah.
Like at least to me, at least for me. And you know what? If somebody watched that movie and it brought them joy, that's great. I don't want to tell them that they're experiencing it wrong. But just as I said on the show the other day, I have a lot of annoying qualities, but maybe near the very top of the list is how uptight I am about any kind of sports portrayal and if it has a false note to my mind, because which is again not a fun way to be in the world. It'd be like if I like I loved the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer when I was a kid. It's a chess movie, and I just thought it was so great. And maybe it is so great, but like, what if somebody who I don't know how to play chess at all, but if somebody knew how to play chess and they were just telling me all the reasons why that movie sucked because the chess was unrealistic, that would just only make it less enjoyable for me, a thing I had gotten joy from. So I really want to be careful that I'm not doing that. I'm calling it out what it is, which is that I am insufferable when it comes to any topic that I think I have a lot of lived experience with, even just as a fan, and then the portrayal of it, and then me policing if the people did it right or not.
I mean, if somebody comes up to me and tells me that Batman isn't a good movie because that's not how hand buzzers work, I'm not going to be very happy with that person.
No, you're not. Or if they come to you and they say Batman was doing P90X while Vicky Vale was sleeping, and you're midway through your rebuttal, and then you go to watch the footage, you go, oh, he kind of was.
More than any, and I'm just having this thought now, as we continue, and I'm not apologizing for this, by the way, or even saying that it's necessarily a bad thing, but more than I can ever remember in TBTL history, this week of shows seems more like one long show that is broken up by days, because we I was kind of
feeling the same way.
We kind of keep hitting on the same things, but we need to, though. I'm not apologizing for it. These are topics that need deeper discussion and exploration.
Well, it's also been kind of an odd week because I've been in a bunch of different places, and we had some technical times when I was in New York where we were recording on the phone, and then later you were having to piece the show together that way, and we did an early recording on the Thursday episode because of my schedule. So there was a lot about the week that was kind of weird, but I meant to text you. I was like, I think in like the last 2 episodes of the show that the people would have heard, so Wednesday and Thursday, I think I had a couple moments of laughing more deeply and more genuinely than I have in a long time. I can't even remember what you said, but there was a couple of moments where I was like literally cracking up doing this job, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool that this is our job and that I get to still actually have that level of pure, real kind of, enjoyment of that of doing this job. That's pretty lucky for us. And
yeah,
for me.
I appreciate that. I got to say too, and unfortunately, you'd think I'd remember what it was. I can't remember what it was either, but I do remember at one point this week making you laugh really hard, and that's just always a good feeling when you can make somebody laugh really hard. That is like a really good feeling.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
I'll try to keep this short because I'm full of stories about travel woes, and I have to say, I don't even know if this falls under the category of travel woe. It was kind of crazy what happened on Thursday. So we doubled up on Wednesday rather. We doubled up on the recordings on Wednesday because I had to try to get to a flight. Wednesday night, the plan was I was going to fly from LaGuardia to Chicago and then down to Manhattan, Kansas, where I was interviewing Bridget Everett, the performer and star of Somebody Somewhere. And you and I and John were supposed to be having a meeting, and I was like, okay, I'm going to call you from the cab. And right then is when I got a ping from the airline, American Airline in this case, saying, your flight out of LaGuardia, your flight from New York to Chicago is delayed. And then I looked at when my flight was leaving from Chicago for Manhattan, Kansas, and I realized, no, I'm going to be landing after that flight is taken off. So I was like, I got to take evasive action. So I'm like on the phone with the travel people for CBS. I'm like on my computer. I'm trying to fix all this stuff. And I was pretty shocked. It turns out Manhattan, Kansas I know this sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but it is where Kansas State University is, a major D1 university. It's pretty hard to get to if your flight gets messed up. Like, in fact, there was no way for me to get there. So that was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe, or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, New York time on Wednesday. There was no way for me to fly to Manhattan, Kansas via any kind of connecting flight and get there any sooner than 2 p.m. the following day. Like, even if I flew to Kansas City, which is a couple hours away, then there are no flights from Kansas City to Manhattan, Kansas anymore. If I flew to Chicago, there was nowhere that I could go that would get me to Manhattan, Kansas. And it's just rare that you're in that situation anymore in this modern world we live in. Usually, if you are willing to pay enough money, you can get somewhere, generally speaking. And there was like no getting there. So they rerouted me to a different airport. I went to Newark, and then I flew to Kansas City. But then after I hung up with you guys from our business call, Andrew, oh, and by the way, I'm sitting in stuck traffic in Manhattan. Like an hour of my trip was just getting from where I was near Central Park to the entrance of the Holland Tunnel. That's all within Manhattan. That's 3 miles as the crow flies. Not even, that's 2 miles as the crow flies. That was an hour of the trip. And then the next 30 minutes was everything all the way out to New Jersey. That went relatively quickly. Mm-hmm. But like what ended up happening was I got into this mode because the other thing was Bridget Everett, and if people have watched the show Somebody Somewhere, you know this. The show is set in Manhattan, Kansas, and the characters in the show, they often go to this one place called the Chef for brunch, for breakfast. And it's a very iconic part of the show. And that's where we were going to be interviewing Bridget Everett and her brothers. Now, Bridget Everett, who is much more famous than I and much busier than I am, had already flown from New York to get there to be interviewed by me. And her brothers had also, some of them live in the town, but one of them lives in California. The whole Everett family had converged in Manhattan, Kansas to sit in this diner and be interviewed by me at 9 a.m.
And you think that I kind of didn't realize that. I sort of thought you're like, oh, we'll take advantage of this. We'll meet her where she is and have this great backdrop of doing it in Manhattan, Kansas. She's basically making this trip for CBS, for you.
Absolutely.
Oh, I did not realize that aspect of this.
100%. Yeah, has changed her schedule to fly to her hometown in Manhattan to talk to us in various places that are kind of significant for her life and for the show. So like a lot of people, not to mention our producer, not to mention our camera guy, like a lot of people have really changed the whole scope of their week to be in this one place. And now, am I going to be the person who somehow can't make it? I'm kind of freaking out. Because here's what I start to realize. As I'm talking to you and John in that conference call, I'm also getting these text messages from the travel guy at CBS. And because the plan was going to be, I'm going to fly to Kansas City, I'm going to rent a car, and I'm going to drive from Kansas City to Manhattan, Kansas, 2-hour drive. The travel guy is going, I've never seen this before. I'm unable to rent a car one way from Kansas City to Manhattan, Kansas. Something I've never heard of. He tried Hertz, he tried Enterprise, my beloved Avis. They don't even have an Avis in the city of Manhattan, Kansas. Like, that's a thing. Again, I just assume if you've got 2 stoplights, you probably have an Avis. Or if you have an airport, if you have a regional airport, you probably have an Avis there. They didn't have that. Nobody would allow me to rent a car and leave Kansas City, Missouri, bound for Manhattan, Kansas, because the problem was I was flying out of Manhattan, Kansas, to be more specific. This was a one-way rental.
We ran into that before with TBTL stuff, right? Was it the
version of it
thing?
I think it was maybe even more the RV was a big problem. The one-way RV rental. Remember that was a whole issue?
I do remember that, and I thought there was another car situation because I remember sort of learning that with you that's a possibility that like, oh yeah, sometimes you can't rent a car one way. But anyway, go ahead.
I just figured in this day and age, in this economy, I couldn't understand that was a problem. But so then my thought was, so my first thought was when the guy was like, no one will rent us a car one way, I was like, well, I'm just going to rent one from Avis. I'm going to tell them I'm bringing it back, and then I'm not going to bring it back. I'm just going to take it to the Avis in Manhattan, Kansas, and then drop it off there, and then they'll charge me some fee, and I'll charge CBS, and it'll be fine. And then I'm on these maps, and there's like, there's no Avis in the city of Manhattan, Kansas. So it's one thing to take a car and not be truthful with the airport and then return it to another location of that company.
Because what do you do? Not take the car? You're like, well, here I am. I'm not taking the car back. Here's your car.
Yeah, they usually just charge you a fee.
Yeah, you can't leave it along the side of the road or behind a dumpster.
No, that's a whole, even for me, even for a sketchball like me, that would be like a bridge too far. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So here was what ended up happening. I end up, and there's God bless, there's this a producer at CBS named Eliza who's helps me with a lot of different things, research and such, and she's been deployed to try to find me a car service. So our producer Aria has now reached out to Eliza to see if she can find me a car service from Kansas City to Manhattan, Kansas. This is all unfolding now. At this point, it's like almost 8 o'clock at night East Coast, and Eliza is like Penny from Inspector Gadget. Mm-hmm. He's got the headset on. He's typing away. He's like trying to find, cross-reference these things. Turns out it's going to be prohibitively expensive to car service me from Kansas City to Manhattan. So I come up with what I think is a sort of a decent plan, which is I schedule an Uber from the Kansas City airport to Topeka, Kansas, which is about 55 minutes away. Because I've realized that Topeka, Kansas is about 55 minutes from Manhattan. And what I realize is it's a big ask to ask an Uber or Lyft driver or a cab driver to drive you 2 hours somewhere.
Yeah,
that's
because
like
they can't get a fare back.
That's like Seattle to Portland practically or something. That's an epic journey. I mean, I'll say this. The what should be theoretically built into the fare is it covers the ride back. But even so, like I would not just casually ask a rideshare or cab driver to take me 2 hours away. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. I mean, I would ask, but I would also understand if they said no.
And also, the companies, whether it's Lyft or Uber, might have some policies around that too, right? Like
yes, although I hear a lot of stories from Lyft and Uber drivers about they've all got a story of that one time they drove someone 6 hours.
I see. So they can maybe opt into it or something.
Yes. But in this case, I thought, I think I've cracked the code here, which is a 50-minute ride it's not short, but it's not like unhinged, right? Like people sometimes live 50 miles from the airport and then they would call one of these rideshare services, and they would get a ride to their home that's 50 miles from the airport. That'd be like going from SeaTac to Linwood or something. Like people that live in Linwood deserve, if they need to use rideshare services. So I broke it up. I got an Uber from the airport to Topeka, Kansas, where I stayed in Topeka, Kansas that night for all of 5 hours of sleep. And then I got up and then I called a different Uber. And that guy took me from Topeka, Kansas to Manhattan, Kansas, and dropped me off right in front of the restaurant.
So those are about two 50-mile rides. Did I get that math?
50-mile rides. I think they probably ran $100 each.
Yeah, and $100 each. Geez, Louise, that's a pretty good fare.
Maybe more. I should actually.
I don't know how
it wasn't like $500. I can tell you that.
Well, I also know that those types of services are more expensive in Seattle because of like worker protection laws and stuff. So then they charge more because the workers get paid more here. But I know that like if I'm taking a car from my house to the airport, I think it's close to $80 now. And how far away from the airport am I? 10 miles at most?
Well, it was 100. My ride from Topeka, Kansas, pre-tip. I'm actually tipping right now because I reopened the app. The ride from Topeka, Kansas to Manhattan, Kansas was $112.98. And I can go back and actually check what the other one was before that, I think, if I go into my ride history. But here was the thing that made me feel less bad. I scheduled both of these rides.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I'm imagining you can do it on Lyft, too. I haven't done it on Lyft before. This was just an Uber thing. Because there are places where there's just more Ubers than Lyfts. But anyway, I thought that scheduling the ride kind of helped me feel less bad about it because my assumption is if you scheduled, because I had to put in the destination. I had to put in my pickup, the destination, and when I wanted to be picked up. And in both cases, immediately somebody picked up the fare. So I was still maybe in New York about to take off, and I got on Uber, and I scheduled this ride for when my plane was going to land. And then you put in your flight number, and listen, Uber there's a lot of complications around Uber, around the corporate culture, around the gig economy. I'm not trying to this is not an Uber ad in this moment per se, but it was pretty damn convenient because I put in my flight number and it said, okay, well, when you land, we'll know that you landed. And when you have your luggage, just hit go and then we'll send the person over your way. So somebody had already, but I could see the name of the driver right away. Like somebody had basically agreed to do this gig.
Yeah. And the scheduling really assures you that you're not holding them over a barrel. This is somebody who can say, oh, I can plan my day tomorrow. I can wake up. My first fare will be this 50-minute ride, and then I can make it back. And, they can really plan around that.
Yeah, like I feel like if you just flag someone down, if it were a taxi cab, or if you just, I don't know, I guess if you order a Lyft or an Uber, they can generally see the destination. But there's just something about giving them as much heads up as possible.
Yeah,
and just kind of being like, if you want to do this, great. If you don't, I totally understand. It made me feel like I was being less... I was putting them out less or something.
Yeah,
was kind of my theory of the case. But anyway, all that is to say, I managed to get to Manhattan, Kansas, and had an absolutely lovely day there. It was very fun walking around that town with Bridget Everett because she is an extremely Midwestern kind of humble, low key person. And I kept asking her, aren't you you're from this place? You set a whole HBO TV show here. You must just be the mayor of this place. And she's like, I don't know. It's just people. There's so many people that don't know who I am here. It was now it's the afternoon on a Thursday. It's dead in Manhattan, Kansas. She must have been stopped 30 times.
I was going to ask, yeah.
And by people who had come to Manhattan, Kansas because they loved the show. More than one person said, I'm from, this couple came, they were from North Carolina. So we're standing in front of this theater that's kind of a centerpiece of the downtown Main Street in Manhattan, Kansas. Bridget Everett and I are talking. We have a little film crew, and I can see this couple, this kind of older married couple that have been walking down the sidewalk, and then they've kind of stopped, and they're kind of looking at us. And I think for a minute, maybe they're worried about walking in front of our cameras, and then I realized, oh, no, this is what they're doing. They're trying to process the reality that the star of their favorite TV show, who put this small town on their map, is standing on the street in this small town when they randomly pulled up on their road trip. And it was so adorable. This woman was losing her mind. I mean, can you imagine, you're visiting Bayonne, New Jersey, or somewhere in The Sopranos, and you go up and James Gandolfini's just standing there.
Well, these days I'd be doubly shocked, I guess.
It would definitely be something to tell the papers about.
Certainly.
He's with Jimmy Hoffa
and my therapist, probably.
But yes, and your sponsor.
Yeah, and my sponsor and my spiritual leader.
Okay, bad example, but it was kind of fun. And so the woman said, "We're from North Carolina. We love the show. We were on a road trip. We were like near Kansas." And I said to my husband, "If we're near Kansas, we have to go to Manhattan, Kansas."
This is, by the way, are you rolling on all of this during the CBS?
Well, that's a whole other yes, we are. But it was like, I don't need to get into this, but it was like, let me put it. How do I put it? The responsibilities for me as the host of just kind of like seeing something and thinking we should be filming that is so different than the responsibilities of like a camera person who has like this heavy piece of equipment that has all these specifications that involve focus and light and what lens they're using and da. So I'm always like, can we get this? Can we get this? And they're always like trying to get it, but like there's a lot more to it than I realize, I think, right?
Yes.
But we ended up getting really good stuff. But let's just say for the first like 5 or 6 people, because I knew that I thought it would be an interesting plot point in the story to talk about what the reaction is to this woman, Bridget Everett, being in this small town of Manhattan, Kansas, that she's kind of made sort of famous to a certain group of fans. And the first 5 or 6 people that approached her on the street randomly and that were just doing like the perfect right out of central casting, like, "Hey, I love the show," or even like, "Hey, I used to do your mom's hair," or whatever, you know. And they were all happening, and somehow our camera guy was always missing it. Was always like off, like adjusting something, or I was like, it was like it was killing me. And so I kind of said something later, like I was like, I tried to say it nicely, but I said something to the effect of like, I think the only way, because also our producer, we were really short staffed. We didn't have a sound person, so our camera guy had to be sound and camera. I've never had that happen before. And then our producer, Aria, was kind of second camera. She was holding this little camera. It's called an Osmo. They're really cool. We got to get an Osmo for TBTL, Andrew.
Okay, see how the thon goes.
They're remarkably affordable, but they're on a little gimbal, and they just shoot like incredibly cool stuff. All that is to say, I kind of had a little team meeting, and I said, I think what we're going to really have to try to do is really kind of have our head on a swivel about if someone is approaching her, and we need to just like really like when in doubt, just start filming. And so then I started just kind of being the spotter. I could see people coming, like those people that came from North Carolina. I like locked eyes with our camera person and with Aria, and I was like, those people, we need to be filming those people right now, you know. I tried to do it in a way that I wasn't like panicking or making it, you know, uncomfortable for everyone. But eventually we got to the point where we got a ton of good stuff. We got a ton of people like losing their minds. So it ended up being fine. But I will tell you, the first 3 or 4 people where there was an actual like unscripted interaction and we weren't getting it.
Yeah.
It was like, it was tough on me.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I mean, it's because I very much sympathize with the person who's trying to deal with the equipment and also the, like, you really don't understand what is involved here.
Yes.
Aperture, other things. You know,
that's the thing.
Look at me. But I totally understand that. But also we live in a day and an age where there are devices that are way more flexible and mobile, and maybe like CBS needs to like, and it sounds like maybe with this device you're talking about, they need to look at other ways of being like, okay, well, if we're doing a story like this, then we also need somebody with this, some sort of a souped up, I almost said iPod. They should really have me on staff. Some sort of a souped up iPhone or something. You know what I mean? Because the technology in our pockets is incredible.
Yeah.
I get a little bit irritated when it's just kind of like, well, you can do, you know, like you can just say, oh, well, just do it on your iPod. Like that's not the realities of the situation. I'm not trying to be flip about it, but you can maybe say, but maybe we should like have one person or a producer just always has this more flexible technology to grab it, and then even, you know, and then if it sort of changes the tenor or the voice of those types of stories, that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know.
No, I agree. And we are moving towards that. You know, when we were filming at the world's largest truck stop, because we were in all these tight spaces, like I was getting a chiropractic adjustment. I was talking to a dentist. We were in this chapel. It was
it was like, a truck stop, Luke. We've all been to truck stops.
I was having an omakase sushi meal, a $500 omakase sushi meal. I'm trying to think of other things unlikely at a truck stop. And it was such tight space, and the turnaround was so quick on a lot of it that they just used the Osmo the whole time. And I was watching some of the footage later; it looked so good. It looked so cool. Now, only you might possibly care about this, but you know what? The bigger issue in all this is, Andrew, because we didn't have a sound person, was audio.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
was
how
gonna
much of
say,
the audio
you
will be
c-
usable
yeah.
because we did not mic these people. Normally, if our sound guy, he would have a boom. So he'd be booming it. So he would just be holding a microphone over people who are doing things so we can get what they're saying. I may have to cleverly write around the fact that we don't have good audio. I mean, we have Bridget Everett mic'd. We don't have the people that she was talking to mic'd because we didn't have a sound person.
Yeah.
This is what I would say to the Paramount and my soon-to-be corporate overlords, the Skydance Company. Don't skimp on the sound people. Because that's why we may not have sound from a couple from North Carolina that was very excited to meet Bridget Everett because we couldn't send a sound person because we couldn't find anyone to do the sound.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
They're all taking the early buyout so that we can merge with Skydance more seamlessly.
Well, maybe Trump will get you an Osmo. Or a sound person or whatever we need.
Yeah. No, definitely. The big, beautiful Osmo.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it. Anyway, so I made it back home. That was a really fun, it was a kind of a crazy week of getting there and stuff, but it ended up being totally worth it. Bridget Everett, absolute, just wonderful person and very talented and very funny. I'm excited to get this on television. But Andrew, in all of my gallivanting and all of our running over on time, we did not talk about this Little Red Hen story. Let's clear the decks on this, okay?
Yep.
The Little Red Hen, which I didn't know until you sent me this story, is, I believe, 92 years old.
Yeah, it was something. I don't have it in front of me now, but I was shocked to see that as well. I knew it's like a long-standing bar, like one of the oldest bars in Seattle. I did not know that we're talking. I would have guessed, like, what's old in Seattle is like 45 or 50 years, you know?
Yeah, so like I would have started going there 25 years ago, let's say, and so that would have meant it was already in its, like 60th year, late 60th year of existence. But it sounds like there is an issue there with the company that owns the building. And honestly, it's seems like a minor miracle that building's even still there, right?
Yeah,
Considering the kind of the local real estate situation.
Yeah.
But like the owner, the folks that own the building have had a falling out with the guy who currently owns the bar. Also, by the way, the guy who currently owns the bar bought it fairly recently. Did you notice that? Like, I want to say 2011 or something, not that long ago.
I did notice that, and it's interesting because I'm only now remembering that the first time I went to the Little Red Hen was with you and your crew. I think like the Mummy was there, and maybe it was like kind of like we had not closed down another bar, but I feel like we went in there kind of late, and I do now remember being like, oh yeah, like, okay, because it was a country bar. I think there was country music going on. But then the experience I think of with that bar was more like around, I think right before pre-pandemic when Vives and I lived sort of like in the Roosevelt neighborhood. We would walk over there quite a bit, and I sort of had a feeling that there was the owner behind the bar for a while, and I didn't know if it had been in the family for a long time, but I guess... What a stupid story for me to go on. My point is, I'm not shocked to hear that the ownership changed somewhat recently, like in the past 10 or 20 years. That doesn't shock me
I thought
as
that
much.
bar was owned by the skeleton of a pirate that was still wearing his outfit, sitting next to a treasure chest and covered in cobwebs. I assumed that was the owner of that place. Like, somehow that place, because it's so... And I also, by the way, I don't think I've probably been there in 15 years. Whenever the last time I was there with you was probably the last time I was there.
Yeah.
It's been so long. But in my mind, it just seemed like this could not be owned by anybody under the age of 100.
Yeah, right,
Just based on the vibe, the energy. And I know that's not how things work, but that was in my mind how I thought about it. Like the idea that it changed ownership in 2011 or something, or whatever the exact date is, fairly recently, was kind of shocking to me. But it sounds like the issue, and this is, Andrew, where I think the intersection of stiff drink and garbage anxiety,
Right.
this is really where you live.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that there had been some sort of an agreement between the Little Red Hen and another bar next door, which, by the way, what's it called? The Woodmark?
I hadn't even heard of it.
I'd never even... How did this other Green Lake bar escape my radar?
I don't know. There's a chance that might be slightly newer than when you were going there. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
But so there was some agreement apparently between the Little Red Hen and this other bar that the other bar would be allowed to use the Little Red Hen's dumpster facilities. And then that would be in exchange for I think they would help offset the price or something. There was some kind of an agreement there.
Yeah, basically the neighbor was like, you can use our dumpster, essentially, right? Like that was.
Oh, so the hen was using the neighbor's dumpster.
No, vice versa. But basically, it was a neighborly like kind of arrangement, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And apparently, that neighbor has now gotten their own dumpster, which means the Little Red Hen is somehow now more exclusively responsible for its own waste management fees. And I was shocked by this number. The owner of the hen claims that that's going to cost $40,000 more a year.
I was ready to be shocked, but I was so shocked at that number. I was like, I'll bet you this could cost almost $10,000 a year or something. But I do have this in front of me. $40,000 a year for dumpster service? I mean,
that's
also
like $3,000. Can you live in the dumpster? $3,000 a month for the dumpster being dumped?
Now, and that's according to the bar owner. So the bar owner wants that number to be as big as possible to make his case, I guess.
Yes.
But just because I kind of misinterpreted what's going on here. So just to read directly from it, it says tensions began earlier this year over a matter involving the dumpster. Shim, that's the owner's last name, right? The owner of the bar, not the property. So the bar owner said he made a verbal agreement roughly 5 years ago with an employee. See, this is like one of those things. It's like I both like this, and I feel like this kind of agreement appeals to you, but also you can see how like the landlord would be swoop
I got
in and be
approval. Who'd you get it from?
Tim.
Kern? Who?
Yeah.
Carl? Karen? Kurt? Just keep saying names until there's somebody who actually works there who could have given approval.
So according to the Times, Shim made a verbal agreement roughly 5 years ago with an employee at the neighboring Wooden City Tavern who agreed to pay the majority of the Little Red Hen's trash collection fees in exchange for the use of the hen's dumpster. Why this was a good deal for the neighboring bar, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, let us use your dumpster and we'll pay like a big tens of thousands of dollars. Like, why not get your own? I don't know.
By the way, I think this Wooden City Tavern, it was, well, first of all, Andrew.
Yeah.
What it used to be was a Baskin and Robbins where my sister Liz.
Oh, really?
Today is her birthday. My sister Liz used to work at a Baskin Robbins that then was demolished, and then this place that was put up, I think might have been called Shelter or something, and I think that they've now been the name has been changed to Wooden City Tavern at Green Lake. But this is this very new kind of very modern, beautiful. It's actually a very beautiful building. I really like it. But I think it was called Shelter when they opened it. Now it's called Wooden City Tavern. And again, it will forever in my heart be the Baskin Robbins where my sister worked.
Okay, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I see it's kind of around the corner, but they kind of would share.
I bet you they
like kind
share
of a
an
back
alley. Or
yeah, according to the maps, it looks like they share an alley, and that's exactly how those kind of partnerships would work, right? Like, well, we'll use your dumpster in the back. It's already there. We'll pay for a bunch of it. A handshake.
Maybe
deal.
it was that Wooden City would have to get their own new dumpster, which would be a hassle. So they were basically like, we'll cover the cost,
and we'll use it
as long as we can just use it. And then they were like, actually, we're going to get our own dumpster, and now there's problems.
But didn't the property owner here? They swooped in and salted this agreement, right? It says in the spring, let's see, the owner of the property terminated the unofficial dumpster agreement, and in an email, the property owner informed the bar owner that the Wooden City Tavern was in the process of signing contracts with Waste Management to get their own. It sounds like the property owner heard about this agreement and said, I don't like this agreement. This isn't not on my property or whatever. Went in and salted the game and said so now the Wooden City Tavern's like, okay, whatever, we'll just get our own, I guess. And then suddenly the Little Red Hen, again, according to him, he's going to have to pay an extra $40,000. Like that bar is not operating in those kind of margins.
No, not since I stopped going there.
No, that would have been maybe you should go spend a Friday there, get him back in the black.
That was their pandemic.
I mean, listen, it sounds like I could be wrong, but I think if I recall this article from the Times, it's mostly from the perspective of the bar owner. I don't know if there's many comments in here from the property owner. So
I don't think that the property management group / ownership group is particularly interested in litigating this in the Seattle Times.
Yeah, exactly. But it does sound like so. Basically, though, they've I don't know if there's an update on the story because it is now June 11th. This story broke on Monday, I think, and the property owners said you have until the end of this month, like the end of this month, and it's just sort of it's really shocking. I mean, it could just be a game of chicken, but it might not be. And
it could be a game of hen.
It could be. Thank you. I apologize. But like, you know, not to broaden this out too much, but and I don't know what the details are with these things. I think there was a time where I used to like rail about how Seattle was changing, and it was probably somewhat uneducated in a certain way and just old man crankiness. But like, there are so many examples of beloved institutions, you know, and I say an institution, this is a dive bar, you know, but either way, it is there. I'm telling you, there is community there. When I did go there, in like it would be more like a late afternoon drink or something with Vives, and it's like so clear, like everybody knows each other there. They have their own stools. It is a community, whether or not it's your kind of community or you're a part of it or not. It's like I do think that stuff is important, and then you have the property values around here skyrocketing, so then there's so many like classic businesses that are being evicted because the landlords can make more money. You know, my Zenith Supply that sold candles and you know essence oils and stuff that I can't get anywhere else except for online now, like went away. Like there's all kinds of places that are being affected by this, including, and this is my point, Jensen's Meats, which was such a cool butcher shop up here in North.
Jensen's Smoked Meats?
Yes, it was up here in
With
North
the
Seattle
fish?
long before I knew that I would be living up here. It was because I remember I would punch it into the map and I'd go up there and buy my Land Jaegers for our road trips. I remember like Jensen's got evicted like their lease was terminated or whatever years and years and years ago now. I'm going to say at least 5 years ago. And because the landlords were like, okay, we can do something else with this. It has just been shuttered and covered in graffiti. And it is just trash building now that is empty and vacant and probably just not the safest thing to have right there in the main stretch or kind of a main stretch there of Greenwood. And it's kind of like, it's one thing to say, okay, we can do something with this space, but to then like just evict these old businesses, these old great Seattle businesses, and then just do nothing with it because you're just like, well, we can, I don't know. Again, I'm spiraling, but it also sort of seems tied into the people who are buying up all the drugstores, totally gutting them, and then selling them off as parking lots because they can't maintain them, or the Joann Fabrics or whatever. It's really a bummer.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about with the hen, because unless the owners of the building are on a long-term project to try to get everyone else out of the building so then they can just sell it and have some kind of gigantic, mixed-use condominium with an orange theory on the bottom floor put in. Maybe that's the long-term goal. It seems like if the short-term goal is to actually just have, functioning, profitable businesses in there, you're not going to do better than the hen in that space. You're not going to put a different bar in that's going to be thriving, probably. That's going to, you know what I mean? You're not going to probably have some restaurant that becomes the hit restaurant of Seattle. You're probably not going to, what are the other things that could go in there? Like used computer repair. Like it's not a super desirable building other than being a dive bar. It's highly desirable for being a dive bar. But imagine you were going there to like get some other thing done. You'd be like, it's kind of dark in here. It kind of smells like Olympia beer. Like I don't think if the owners of the building want to continue receiving rent payments in a timely fashion, they better get this figured out with the hen, because I can't imagine. The Jensen's Meat thing is a perfect example. Like, I think that a lot of these landowners think that they will get somebody else in there to pay more money. And that if they don't, then they'll just flip the property and develop it. And then what happens is nobody's going to come in and pay more money for rent. And it turns out that the flipping of the process is actually pretty involved from like a permitting standpoint, from a bunch of different environmental impact, et cetera. And then you just end up with something that used to be cool and fun that is now just completely and totally, like you said, just sort of a sad, post-apocalyptic, like, that Jensen's Meat, if I remember right, they used to have, I don't know if they had this when you were going there, and I could be confusing them with a different place on Greenwood that was similar to this. I think they had a big salmon, and its jaw would go up and down.
Oh,
that was like the It was just back in the era when you had like your elephant car washes, and I felt like businesses were doing more clever stuff with like their signs and things to get people in. There was some kind of a place on on Greenwood that was a meat place that had like a big old salmon or a big old sockeye or something. And my memory of as a kid is that its jaw could go up and down.
I'm looking to see if I just didn't. It seems like something I'd remember because now, keep in mind, like almost directly across the street from the old Jensen is where that pub at Piper Creek is.
Yeah,
and that does have
which used to be called Bix.
Oh, really? Well,
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
One thing about the pub at Piper Creek is they have it's funny that I wonder how long it's been the pub at Piper Creek because I would have guessed that you wouldn't have known a bar there before that because it has such an old neon sign with like one of those neon signs that sort of has the fake animation and it looks like somebody's casting
fly fishing.
Is it fly fishing or just casting a regular fishing pole?
Maybe that. Yeah, no, I think you're right.
But anyway, either one of those, I'm not sure. But that's kind of like that dynamic sign as well. But I don't remember Jensen's having a movable sign when I went there. But maybe I was just.
You know who I used to go to Bix with? You know who's a huge Bix fan?
No, I can't even picture Bix.
Ross Reynolds.
Really?
Yeah, I used to go to Bix with Ross Reynolds.
So, wow, the pub at Piper Creek is that new of a bar that they already have. But they bought this. I mean, a neon sign is so expensive, especially a moving neon sign. But, like, I'm just surprised that bar is new enough to have a neon sign that is already sort of like only half working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wonder. I'm also wondering, I don't think Bix had that. I don't think that they had that sign. But all that is to say, I guess, Andrew, you have no choice. It's a Friday. I don't know what your big weekend plans are, but I think you have to beeline it probably for the hen today.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I got some dogs to pet in the neighborhood. I actually have to go pick up Genevieve at the airport, and I just want to clarify something I said before. I was estimating that the airport's 10 miles from me. It's more like 20 miles from me.
Whoa.
Yeah, are you surprised to hear that that's a 20-mile drive down the 5 from where I live to the
I kind
airport?
of am a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking like 10 miles. I think I said before 10 miles tops. That's an invitation to myself.
But you are so you're driving, you're going to go get her as opposed to hopping on the light rail together or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if she were taking the light rail, she could just do that herself. I wouldn't
herself.
I wouldn't go down. That's a really long because you have to take a bus to the train to the. But no, I figure if I have the car, I should just go down there and pick her up.
Well, that's very nice of you. I'm glad to hear that in the relationship you guys are still picking each other up at the airport and dropping each other off. Because of the amount of travel that I do, I have so long since stopped ever even like asking or I would never ask anyone to get me from the airport. I would never ask anyone to drive me to the airport. It's like something inside of me has died because when I come out, so Portland they've redone PDX or they're in the process of redoing it. It looks really cool. What's annoying is they keep shutting off large sections of the airport to remodel it, which means you then have to walk this like crazy, weird, nonsensical route to get around where they're fixing things.
Mm-hmm.
But something that they have done that I think is so genius, and I think every airport should do this, so let's say you land on your flight and you're walking and you're on your way now to get out of the like security area. You go through that exit thing where they're like, you cannot go back. Once
it always
come through
scares
this,
me for some reason.
It feels intense. It feels like the human version of walking across one of those do not back up major tire damage situations. It's like, okay, I better be really, really sure this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But you as you come through that like exit, there are on both sides these amazing, I don't want to say bleachers. They're more beautiful than that. There's these big wood benches that go all the way up. So where people can just sit and wait for their loved ones to get off the plane. And it's a gathering space.
That's interesting.
Isn't that a good idea? And it's always got people in it. There's always people. So instead of it just being like everybody's got to stand around, and kind of nervously wait for the person or whatever, it's like it's a whole, and it's almost, I don't want to say performative, but it's like there are these two sets of bleachers that are going up on either side. And as you emerge through, like if you had loved ones there, it'd just be such a cool thing. I think it was a very really interesting idea of like sort of human scale design, maybe, or designing things for the way that people actually exist in space in that environment, in that scenario.
And almost
I really
a return
like it.
to waiting for people at the gate. You still can't do that after 9/11, but it's a way of like people like can greet you in a more formalized way at the airport.
And you make it comfortable for them, and you make it. It's almost like you feel like you're. It feels like when again, no one's cheering for me, but it feels like when we used to come out of the locker room in a basketball game. And you're running out, and people are all seated, and they're clapping or whatever. It has a little bit of a feeling of that. But
when I come through tissue paper, like every plane that
I bring my own,
you just stretch it across the tunnel.
I bust through a thing, a big thing of paper. But then also what I think when I walk through there is because there was always people waiting for folks, and people are excited and they're hugging. I just think like, man, Burbs, you have really, really moved into a different category of life/travel. You have moved into hardcore road warrior, Avis Wizard, put your head down, George Clooney up in the air, like status. Like there's no joy, there's no adventure. I was thinking about this the other day because I saw some like teenagers that were all part of like a school band, and they were boarding the plane. I think we were in Dallas or something. And I thought, like, these kids are so flipping excited right now.
Yeah,
like, they're
right.
going somewhere they have not been before, and how excited I would have been at that age if I was ever able to do something like that, which actually wasn't. But like, all the joy of travel that some people feel, and that you certainly feel, I think, when you're younger, the excitement of it, all, it's like that has been so wrung out of me at this point. And like, I think there's something very sweet about picking somebody up at the airport. Like, it's an act of love, And I've lost that. I mean, I pick back up at the airport. I will pick people up at the airport. That's the thing. I'm a true hero, Andrew, is what I'm really trying to tell
obviously.
you. But I would never, to me, asking someone to pick me up from the airport or drive me to the airport would be like asking someone to wipe my ass after I go to the bathroom. It's like, no, I got this. I do this all the time.
Yes.
I have a system.
And you have usually a company paying for the travel to the
100%,
airport. And does
100%.
CBS also pay somebody to wipe your ass, or is that negotiable? Maybe you
Not
can't talk
since the
about
Skydance merger.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things they took away.
Wow, that is.
Which is why you heard a certain bitterness in my voice earlier.
Yeah. Hey,
first they came for the ass wipers, and I said nothing.
Then they came for the Osmos. Is that what it's called? The Osmos?
Yeah, Osmo.
Okay, yeah, Osmo. I was going to say we should do Blurzays here and get out of here,
Yes,
but I did
we
want to
should.
mention, while we're just on airport talk, we didn't talk this week about the new, because it didn't affect you. It doesn't affect you because you do so much travel, as you're describing, and you're obviously TSA pre-check. You haven't had to take your shoes off in an airport for a long time, but I still do, and they just rolled that policy back. I'm sure you saw this, right, Luke? This seemed like
I didn't actually.
Oh, really? I'm kind of surprised because I feel like big airport news would be up your alley. But like the federal government, and again, like I always question anything this federal government does, but they have rolled back the requirements of taking off your shoes, and I don't know if that applies to all.
What does that mean, rolled back? In other words, they're not making you take your shoes
They've
off.
canceled it, or they've gotten rid of that.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if that applies to all airports. It might still be a regional decision, but I do know at SeaTac, they are no longer making you do that. Like a boom, like a switch. It's just, you don't have to take your shoes off at the airport anymore. They say, we have other, all the scanning technology and everything we do, we just don't need it anymore. Also, I think that you probably were dubious about that to begin with.
I sure was.
The thing that, other than that, I'm going to, I look forward to not having to take my shoes off at the airport. But aside from that obvious fact, the thing that struck me in reading these stories and sort of reminiscing about the kind of the post 9/11 world that we lived in, which is like such a bubble of a memory for me now, if that makes sense. Like the feel of that time, it seems so distant now in such a distinct era. But remember the shoe bomber? What was it? A flight from Paris?
Richard.
Yeah, I can't. Here to the States, he tried to set off a shoe bomb. Didn't, but that's what basically kind of started this policy. That attempted shoe bombing happened almost immediately after 9/11. I think it was like October or November of 2001. The shoe policy didn't go into effect until 2006, according to all the footage or all the
Wow.
news I've been reading about this lately. And I keep on like trying to double check that. I can't believe it took 5 years for I don't know, was 2006 also when I feel like it was immediate that airports clamped down on all this shit after 9/11. I just can't believe we had 5 years after 9/11 where we were still wearing our shoes and then they started making us take them off.
Well, that's not to get on this hobby horse, but that's where this kind of stuff always struck me as so sort of pointless. Mm-hmm. It's like, so there was a 5-year window where if you were still trying to blow a plane up with your shoe, you were fine. You could still do it. You get away with it. How does it take 5 years to codify that policy?
That's why I feel like I must be getting something wrong, but I swear I read that in 2 different sources because I was dubious of it. But they said they're rolling back the 2006 law, and it was, kind of provoked by the 2001 attempted shoe bombing. So I don't know. Unless I was reading some bad information, I just can't get my head around that.
But so to get back to what you were saying, it means that going forward, as far as we know now, permanently, you do not have to take your shoes off anymore when you're going through security in U.S. airports. That's the new thing.
Or at least at SeaTac and other airports that I guess choose that. Again, I just want to emphasize, I don't know if this is being universally enacted in every single airport. I got the impression that SeaTac is one of the airports taking this up.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, too, that makes it challenging is that every airport has a different set of rules and policies. And I've talked about this before, but what I wish they did on day one of TSA training was said to the folks at the TSA, we know that you work here, and we know that you are very familiar with the specific policies of this airport that you work at. But guess what? Every airport does it. By the way, the reason for that is totally mystifying to me. It's I believe a federal program, right? You could have the rules, and the rules could be the rules, and they could apply everywhere. They somehow do not apply the same everywhere. Every place has got a slightly different thing. Sometimes it's you hand them ID. Sometimes you only need the boarding pass. Sometimes they take a picture of your eyeballs now. Sometimes it's shoes off, hair up. Sometimes it's glasses on, shoes down. It's so all over the map. And of course, because I do travel a lot and I probably have too much of my self-esteem, which is what a sad place to have it tied up. Too much of my self-esteem tied up in I know how to do this. It's like me ordering at Din Tai Fung. When I get up to the thing and then the person is brusque with me because I'm doing it wrong, I always want to say, I promise you, this is not due to lack of experience on my part.
Yeah.
This is not due to me not doing this enough. This has honestly destroyed important parts of my life to be traveling as much as I do. So this is because you have a weird system here in MHK, Manhattan. By the way, that was the other thing. And you'll see the Hey Dummies video if you get the newsletter this week, where I recorded live from the airport in Manhattan, Kansas, which was a shocker because my flight took off at, I want to say, 6 p.m. They didn't unlock the gates until about 5:20. It was, I was like, I'm not a nervous case about this, but you guys know we have a flight at, coming up.
And you're also at the very end of a very, very long travel week. And you're
and I need to get to Dallas to get my connector to get home. I'm just I'm not in my most chill mode, but I'm just I've never gotten to an airport. I got to the airport at 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon. And I was really early for my flight, but I was just going to work from the airport. I thought, I'll go sit in a restaurant and I'll have, some soup and I'll work on my CBS stories and my travel reports and whatever. And I get there and it's the whole airport is abandoned and there's a giant gate blocking, a pull down gate blocking your access to where you'd go through security. And I was like, how can this be how this works?
And I saw the footage. It's not like it was like you walked into a bank that was closed or had just closed recently or something. You know what I mean? There was no, there wasn't a Wendy's or anything. There was no. It was a ghost town. They
literally have
a
a sign.
Office.
They have a sign that I noticed later that was hungry, and then it was an arrow and it said vending machines. Right. I was like, oh, wow, you went all out for us. You got us vending machines.
Right,
Thank you. There was literally no food service in the airport. And again, the building itself is pretty nice and new, and maybe because of watching Somebody Somewhere or because I know that Tyler Lockett did go to K-State and played in Manhattan, maybe I've had a certain, I've misunderstood the scope of Manhattan, Kansas, but I was truly shocked by how limited the resources were at the airport there. I thought it was just going to be a normal airport and I could go sit in a Wendy's and type up my story or something. It was Hungry? Arrow vending machine.
Fun. Here's some fun. Here's a half a bag of Funyuns.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that why they call Manhattan, Kansas, the city that always sleeps?
They call it the Little Apple, which I think is kind of clever.
That is clever.
Like, and it'll see that. Like, I saw this place with Little Apple dry cleaning and stuff.
That's
I do
pretty
think that's.
good. Yeah.
I mean, I will say it is. No offense to Manhattan, Kansas, which is such a cute little town. Andrew, you would die. The little downtown area. I mean, it's a absolutely adorable place, but it is kind of confusing because I was flying from Manhattan to Manhattan, and every time I was talking about it, and even when I'm writing about it in the script, I feel the need to constantly clarify it's Manhattan, Kansas, not Manhattan, New York, because also, by the way, Bridget Everett lives in Manhattan, New York.
Yeah, and you interviewed her in New York as well.
I interviewed her in Manhattan, New York, Manhattan, Kansas. She lives in one place. She's from the other place. I'm constantly trying to figure out a way. I just am worried that if I say Manhattan without some sort of clarifier in the script, people won't know which Manhattan we're talking about unless it's so I don't know. Consider a name change is what I'm. Consider changing it to Brooklyn.
There's a right way to rock and a wrong way to roll. You can just listen to your soul. Just remember that life is number one. You can be having so much fun. Just remember that life is much fun. You can be number one.
Blur's Days. You got them, we read them.
Yeah.
This is from William, who says, happy birthday to Dr. Rachel, best doctor, mother, and more. Oh, how do you say the name of this mushroom? Is it morel? M-O-R-E-L?
I think that's morel.
Morel,
yes.
yeah. Happy birthday to Dr. Rachel, best doctor, mother, and morel hunter in all of Maine. That's from William.
Cute. Sometimes they use dogs to look for big mushrooms. Actually, really what they use are pigs, right?
Exactly.
Pigs are really good at truffle hunting.
Maggie says, I'm writing to wish myself a happy 57th birthday, which was on Monday.
Aww.
The world is a dumpster fire, and it's the actual dumpster that's behind the little red hen that's causing all the issues.
Yeah.
The world is a dumpster fire. I'm choosing to concentrate my attention on the things and people I can build up and connect to. Looking forward to a year of sharing meals with friends, doing my best at my job, and getting out in nature whenever I can to go morel hunting.
Yeah.
We can't have Maggie going after Dr. Rachel's morels, though.
There's enough morels to go around.
Nancy says, Dear Megan, wishing you a very happy birthday and a year full of joy, learning Irish, and sharing improv stories. Thank you for introducing me to TBTL, becoming a 10 to hear their hijinks. Oh, interesting. Oh, I see. So, Megan introduced Nancy. Nice. Thank you. I love being your mom. I enjoy your teaching me about kindness in life. Love, Nancy.
That's sweet.
Our pals Susan and Ruby say, wishing the happiest of blurs to Super 10 Jesse in Cincinnati. I know Jesse.
Oh.
Jesse will write in from time to time. Jesse is a beacon of light, kind, caring, compassionate. He's the embodiment of the spirit of TBTL, who does all he can to help cure global loneliness. Jesse, I hope your day is nothing but 360 spins and slam dunk pointers. Nikki in Worcester says, happy birthday to my dear friend and fellow 10, Caitlin in Idaho. I'm sorry that we could get together this year, but I hope you have a fun-filled birthday. Miss ya. Oh, look, I didn't even know. I honestly did not know that this had happened, but it looks like Caitlin in Idaho is pointing that Blur's Day right back at Nikki. It says, please pass along the happiest of Blur's Days to Nicole in Worcestershire. I mean Worcester, Ohio. Congrats on surviving another Blurs. I didn't know what to do there because I know that the joke is that they're both pronounced Worcester, but you guys wouldn't have gotten the joke if I had just said Nicole in Worcester, I mean Worcester. You know what I mean? So I had to pronounce it. I just don't want people to say it's not pronounced Worcestershire. I know that. That was disconcerting. That was a weird. Is that just a stock laugh, or is that?
That's Barbaro.
It is Barbaro. I thought I got Barbaro.
Yeah.
And finally, Annie in Seattle says, Happy Blur's Day to Megan and Edmonds. You always come up with something witty to say here, but I'm at a loss. So I'll leave it at Husky Helmet and Red Robin forever.
Oh.
Annie in Seattle. Is that the helmet that gets driven around the Husky games? I love that thing.
Yes, I love that thing.
Always harassing Genevieve. If I'm like, did you get to? Because sometimes Genevieve gets to drive the president around in the golf cart around the campus, and I'm like, well, why don't you use the helmet one? She's like, we can't use the helmet one. I'm like, use. The helmet
you should
one.
be in that helmet. I think.
I should be in that helmet. I honestly, that would be. What was the little worm that drove the Apple car? I want to be that.
I don't know that worm's name, but yeah, that's a really. That's a childhood memory. That's Richard Scarry, right?
Richard Scarry, right. Yeah, that's the person who, or is that the nom de plume of the person?
That's the writer of all of those little whatever those books were called. You know, you have to say he went pretty far writing children's book for someone whose last name was Scary.
I know. What an interesting name to choose, right? Because I'm guessing that is not a real name.
Oh, I am guessing it is, because why
would you
world would that
choose
be your
that?
pen name? I mean, how about Richard Friendly?
That is a good point. I don't know why I always thought it was. Oh, it's spelled with 2 R's. Huh. I didn't
Richard
know that.
Scarry?
So I guess it looks like Scary, but that can't be how you say it, right? Yeah, it looks
I
like
always heard it as
actually
Richard
his name.
Scary growing up.
Me
but,
too.
And also, it didn't faze me either, because the books are so lovely.
Yeah.
But it is, you are starting off at a certain disadvantage with that being your last name, as you're about to launch your children's book writing career.
Yeah, exactly. Richard Killer Clown has a new series of books for young adults and children. You want to get out of here, or did you not like the Killer Clown being the last joke?
I
of the
liked.
week?
You know what I thought?
No,
I
put
thought I
something
was
else
playing.
in there.
I thought I was playing that. I just hit the wrong one.
I know. Killer Clowns.
All right.
Passe.
Listen, Andrew, have a fun Friday.
Thanks.
At the dog pet.
Oh, yeah, I'll let you know if I go or not. What do you think it is? 50-50 chance I go? Yeah, 50-50.
I think you're going to go. I think
We'll see.
I heard an excitement in your voice. I'm going to be here pounding my pickle and just getting ready for my siblings to show up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll have a full report on Monday about how all of that went.
Really earning that explicit label. That's good.
I'm only repeating what you said, my friend. That is going to bring us to the end of our broadcast week. Thank you so much for spending all this time with us here in TBTL land. We really do appreciate it. When we get to laugh very heartily and from the heart, I am really grateful that this is my job. So thanks, everybody, for making that possible. We're going to be back here on Monday with more Imaginary Radio for you. So we will see you all then. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.